Hello and welcome back to the AI Marketers Playbook, where we cover actionable frameworks to help you leverage AI and marketing strategies in your business. I'm Audrey Chia, your host, and today I have with me a super good friend, a dear friend that I've met on LinkedIn, and a friend that I'm super proud to share with you guys today, Adriaan Myburgh, a designer turned builder who has been using AI to dramatically shorten the loop from idea to finished product. Now, Adriaan didn't come from a technical background. He started his journey in graphic design, but today he's shipping full websites, complex builds, and bold brand experiences by pairing his strong creative instincts with AI-assisted workflows. Adriaan, I am super excited to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Audrey. I appreciate it. We go way back. And it's been so cool learning so much from you. And you were one of the first friends that I made on LinkedIn, and you've helped me out so much. So it's so cool that we're doing this podcast together. Very excited to be here. This is my first podcast as well. The only thing I've done similar to this was a LinkedIn Live, which didn't go so well because I didn't know LinkedIn Live didn't include video. And we were doing this thing where we were roasting websites live for people. But obviously, since it wasn't visual, it was very, very difficult to explain to people that were viewing like what I was actually reacting to and giving advice on. So I'm super excited to be here. I really appreciate you and the introduction. Thank you so much.
So Adriaan, for our viewers or listeners who don't know who you are and what you do, can you tell us a bit more about yourself? How do you get started, transiting from your design journey to more web dev, and then, of course, using AI today?
Yes, so I always loved doing anything creative from a young age. I wanted to be like animator. My dream when I was in high school was working for The Simpsons and animating cartoons and stuff like that. And eventually I found graphic design, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like I can actually build brands, and this idea of building brands really intrigued me. And I studied graphic design, and it was I never cared about money when it came to work. I really just wanted to do things that excited me, and that was mainly just design. But then when I started eventually working for an agency, obviously kind of life hits you and you realize you still need to make a certain income to live in safe areas, to live a good life. And I also realized that I wanted to kind of be in charge of projects on my own, because when you're a junior graphic designer, you're obviously listening to whoever's working above you, whoever's managing you, the creative director, or whoever it is. And I realized that I wanted more control over client projects. I wanted to be the one doing all the big things like identifying how the brand is going to look, building out the logos, the websites. So I eventually got to a point where I realized that I actually wanted to start a business, which was so weird because before that, I definitely had, there was definitely signs that I wanted to start a business. While I was studying, I started an organic soap business that flopped horribly, and
Wow.
I did a merch launch in my first year for like a clothing brand, and there was definitely a lot of signs. I just didn't identify that as a signal that I should go into business. It was always just kind of having fun and trying out new things and experimenting with the packaging, for example, for the organic soap bars and stuff like that. But anyways, I got to that point where I was really hungry just to start doing my own thing. And I remember I saved up about 3 months of money to just survive on. And I just told my boss, hey, I just want to try and go for this solo entrepreneur thing. I really love you guys, but I just want to kind of do my own thing for a bit and see how that goes. And it was really scary, but I put myself in a position where it felt like I couldn't fail. And I was actually originally going to go more into the ad space, and I was building out a website for myself on Webflow. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I really enjoy building websites. So I dove deeper into that and eventually started selling websites as well for local businesses here in South Africa. And what ended up happening was I realized I needed more leads and I need to grow this thing. And I was really attracted to the idea of getting international clients. So I checked out LinkedIn, and I was kind of like trying to figure out how the platform works. And I saw your post pop up, and you were probably the first content creator that I followed, if not the first, on LinkedIn. And I just thought, whoa, this is so cool. I was learning so much. This is around the time that AI just started. I was probably 22, if I remember correctly, and I remember you did a giveaway where you showed how to write content for websites, and I remember you had your website link on this Notion file at the bottom of this giveaway, and I clicked on it and I looked at your website, and I thought maybe I should just send you a DM and be like, hey, can I help you out? Can we work together? Because I just wanted to do whatever it takes. So I sent you a message and I asked if I can help you out for free. And very thankfully, you responded and said, let's hop on a call. And from there on, we built your website. And I was so excited because that was the first international project I did. And you really helped me a lot with kind of showing me how to grow on LinkedIn, how to get clients. You showed me a lot of new workflows because South Africa in general is kind of a bit more behind when it comes to the workflows and the tools we use and how we integrate AI. So it was such a cool experience for me getting to know you and you helping me out with kind of that first stepping stone into LinkedIn and growing in that way. And then now where I'm at now is starting to grow a team. I got my first hire in December, and it's going really well. And I'm thank you, and I'm very excited about that. He's a very cool guy, and we've been working very nicely together and getting him some cool projects to work on for me, just so I could position myself more as the creative in the business and not doing all the nitty gritty things at all times, more just higher level things. And how we're integrating AI right now, definitely a lot for problem solving, for getting ideas to launch quicker. In the past you had to have a budget for a designer, illustrator, someone to shoot videos, shoot photos, build or design logos. And right now we're kind of at a place where AI helps us, smaller businesses like myself, kind of compete with larger agencies. That old agency model is kind of definitely being shaken a bit by smaller companies and businesses using AI to elevate their ideas and launch quicker. So that's quite cool.
Yeah, I think it's also very cool that we met at a time where AI was still new. And I think it was very interesting that you came from a design perspective, right? And I came from copy. And we both built landing pages just in different capacities. So at that point in time also, being new to AI, but also being one of the first movers, I guess for both of us, really helped us to shape and build our businesses. So for Adriaan and myself, we both operate a very lean kind of agency or consultancy model where we come in with our AI team to support clients. So Adriaan, can you tell us what do you think is the biggest difference for yourself after integrating AI into your business?
Well, that's a great question. I think the whole industry's changed. I think in the past, to get to a senior level, you had to work for years, right? In the beginning, your projects weren't that great if you start out, just because you didn't have the budget, you didn't know the people to talk to fund cool projects, right? So you had to kind of grow with each client slowly but surely over years. You have to really hone in on your craft. And it took a lot of time to get to, for a lot of people to get to a place where they had the budget to build amazing websites. And I think I was very fortunate to get into web development, I think just at the perfect time when AI just started, because the leaps that you can make now with AI is so drastically bigger. You can within a year be an incredible developer with no code and low code tools, integrating that with AI as well. You can launch so much faster and produce higher quality work at an early stage and really climb the ranks of whatever you're trying to achieve really as a web developer. And I think something that used to take 10 years to learn now only takes a year or two, at most. So it's quite cool, and I'm very privileged that things kind of happen that way. Just because that steep learning curve has drastically improved, and it's way easier to get your foot in the door. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of fall into that doomsayer mindset where they're really afraid of AI and they're afraid AI takes their jobs. And I think for a long while I was in that camp as a creative, but now thinking about it more and more, and I think a big mind shift I had was that this is here and we need to use this to really get our ideas validated, because I think in the past you had to be an amazing developer and then meet amazing designers. It was difficult to be both. And I think with the tools we have available right now, you can kind of be both at the same time, or you can be a designer like myself and then easily integrate your designs and your concepts and what you have in mind for projects into your development process much more simpler. than it was in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I think what you say also about being able to perhaps, not be as skilled as someone who's super senior, but have the vision and that creative concept, and then to then turn it into reality with AI. I think AI is closing that gap between people who have vision versus technical skills, right? Because now you may not need the same level of technical skills to build that concept, but what remains very clearly is that you firstly need to have that creative vision and the end output, right? So maybe Adriaan, from your experience, what do you find is the difference between using AI as is versus adding that human touch or creativity to that process? Does it make a difference to you?
So what I've been noticing is, at least in the B2B space, especially in SaaS as well, we're seeing younger founders into the space and really killing it. People that are under 30 and they're doing great when it comes to their funding runs. And I think that's having a massive shift, because I think in the past, trust looked very different to people. Like 5 to 10 years ago, I think a lot of entrepreneurs wanted to establish themselves as this big corporate company, even though they were just, a solo entrepreneur doing their own thing. I think every solo entrepreneur has used, for example, the term "we" in their websites or in their marketing, assets, when it was actually just them. I think right now we're kind of moving into a stage in the B2B space where people are way more authentic and open. That facade of being a massive big corporate company is fading away. That's at least how I'm seeing things currently. And I think because of this, we're at a point where people want to highlight themselves, or let me put it in a bit better way. I think people believe more in the founders today rather than the companies themselves. And I think founders want to portray themselves as their authentic selves a bit more. And I think they want to see that more in their designs and their branding and their messaging. Like, I have clients that are quite wild, and they have extremely controversial messaging on their website just because they think it's funny and they think it's something different. I think we're at a point where people are trying to attract more and more people similar to them instead of playing it safe. And I think that's also translating into design. At least for me, as an example, I don't try and play it safe with my content when it comes to marketing. I kind of try and have fun, be myself, show my own personality, show what I think looks good when it comes to web design and design tips and tricks and stuff like that. And obviously then people who like me and like my brand identity and what I stand for come to me, which is so much better than playing it safe and kind of getting a general list of leads coming to you, but no one actually likes what you're doing. They kind of just like the safe portrayal of who you are, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It's interesting you also said that there are a lot of younger founders who are also wanting to showcase their personality and voice, right? So I think we both know the importance of personal branding, but personal branding also goes beyond LinkedIn. Personal branding can seep into your company's branding. Your company's branding can be made personal. And I think that's also where just having AI do the work for you doesn't cut it. You need that eye to figure out, okay, so what does Audrey's personality look like on a page, right?
Yes,
Design-wise,
yes.
how do we bring that to life? How does it look and how does it not? So these are things that I feel are very human, and it still takes that creative flair or creative lens to get work done.
Yes, exactly.
And Adriaan, I'm curious to know, when people normally hear the term, AI in web design, maybe sometimes they might think of templates or generic output. So what do you think most people maybe misunderstand when it comes to how AI actually fits into building high quality web design work?
So I think the biggest thing is just timelines. I think timelines are shortening. Clients are expecting more and also higher quality. But with the tools we have, it's very feasible, which is very nice. I think clients are kind of looking also towards competing with bigger competition. we have the tools now available and the resources available and the understanding, because we can do, the market research much quicker and much faster, to build out, more serious campaigns like blogs, customer success stories, launching a bunch of sales pages with different messaging, to really just see what actually works for the company's positioning, right? What people are attracted to, what makes people convert more. So I think validating different ideas is probably where AI has really helped the most. There is still aspects where you have to refine things manually. You still have to use a lot of tools where you have to put in the hours to learn them. But I do think the best part of AI, at least when it comes to my clients, is that they have the opportunity to test out ideas, test out positioning, see what works and what doesn't, and then they can hone in on what really works and just go all the way with that direction.
It's interesting you said positioning, right? Because that's something I also love. And maybe for a listener who is not familiar with that term, in simple terms, positioning is how you stand out in a crowded marketplace. So like what Adriaan said, what I love about using AI is it becomes almost like your sounding board. If you need ideas and you're stuck, and you're like, what should I say? You have someone to bounce ideas with. So it may not give you the right positioning at the start, but it can give you options to A/B test so you can figure out what actually resonates better with your audience. If you look at older workflows, Adriaan, versus current workflows, what were some things that were very manual in the past, and what are some things that can easily be done now? I know you mentioned visuals, right? Visuals used to be expensive, manual, with a studio photo shoot. I'm sure now it's a lot easier. So what kinds of before and afters have you seen?
So I think content is probably the best one. I think in the past, a lot of founders would take up, especially if they had smaller budgets, take up their own time to write out the ideas, and then turn that obviously into content. And I think a lot of founders struggle kind of with throwing too much at one time, throwing all of the ideas on the hero section, hoping it converts. But when, their audience grows and more people go on the website, people are kind of wondering, what are they actually selling? And I think that's been a big part. I think from my personal experience, visuals are probably the biggest thing. We do a lot of product images, we do a lot of interesting videos and stuff like that, and there isn't always the time to build out 30, 40 different designs that you kind of think, top of mind, this is the best idea, let's build this out. You can't do that when you're building out 40 different designs for a 10-page website. There just isn't always that time. And I think a couple of cool workflows has been really integrating ChatGPT and Gemini with getting mock-ups for designs and layout ideas, and really honing in on how to express the content that's sitting next to the visual, and really bring that to life. AI really has helped me kind of figure out what aspects of the product should be showing off in different visuals, and what's the best layouts to go with which section. And that's been really amazing, because that means I can just grab those layouts and really just refine them and build them into mock-ups. And then from there on, there's a lot of great softwares like Jutta that I've been using to take designs that we build out in Figma and animate them so that they kind of come to life on Webflow or Framer, which just really brings out the interactive side of a design, and really just engages viewers a bit more. That's for me probably been the biggest thing, as well as just planning. I think a lot of times, especially with websites, there's so many things to take into account before you start building and designing a website, and planning is so crucial. If you just kind of run into one direction, and you're not aligned with the founder, and you're also not really clear what you want to achieve with the website for your client, things can kind of start falling apart when you get to that final 20% of the project, and all of a sudden the client wants you to redesign the whole website, and you're already in that development process. So being able to just plan out has really been fantastic. And then we have tools like Reloom, where we can really start building out the entire structure of a website and show that to a client, show that sitemap, and they can approve that before we actually go into things. And they can leave comments and we can discuss things and we can really lock in on what we want to display on different pages, which is super nice because we can just kind of run through that much quicker than in the past where you had to do so much manual planning. You had to write out so many different things. You had to build prototypes in either Photoshop or Illustrator and then export that, send that to a client. And now we have tools like Reloom where we can build out the entire sitemap with AI. You just type in a couple lines of what you want this business to display on their website, who they serve, that type of thing. And how many pages you need, and it does all of the work for you. It recommends design choices for you. You can swap out different color schemes, swap out section layouts, and it only takes a couple of hours, and you can then get validation from clients quite quickly. And within a day, you already did all of your planning, and you know exactly what you want to do. So I think the aspect of development that has become the shortest is definitely just planning. You can do that now in an afternoon instead of weeks.
I'm sure you can also use AI in a lot of that content workflows, right? So even for me, I use a lot of AI in my content workflows with clients. I find that what has been particularly helpful is when you already know what you want to say. So you need to always have the vision and the positioning and your value proposition in mind. Then you use AI as part of the process to start building it out. Similarly, when it comes to building a landing page, if you know what you're looking for, or at least you have a North Star, then you can work towards that. I find personally that if you don't have that, it's really hard, right? Because Adriaan could give you 10 different options, but you may not know what you want because you don't have that vision and clarity. So maybe asking yourself a couple of questions like, what do I want to build? What does this site need to say? How does it make someone feel? Right? Starting there can help you to at least get a step closer to the end result. And I'm also curious, right, Adriaan, since people like us, we are creatives who are using AI, but for a new generation of creatives who are graduating from school, who are starting to enter the workforce, AI is shaking up everything for them. What kind of advice would you have for a younger creative?
Embrace it. What I would say is the most important part is you need to understand the fundamentals of whatever you're trying to achieve. I have two great examples actually of this, talking to like younger guys that have messaged me to either like help me out or just wanted to know more about what I do. And the first guy was a guy from actually Cape Town. He sent me a message on LinkedIn and said, could you just like check out my portfolio and let me know what your thoughts are? And I said, it actually looks, really incredible. And I said, let's hop on a call. Maybe you can help me a bit with design work. I really loved what he was doing. And I thought he was probably about 20, 21, maybe even 22, because his work looked really impressive. And I remember we hopped on a call and I was super excited. And I remember him jumping on the call and I was like, oh, he's probably in high school still. And I asked him, how old are you? And he said he's 14 years old and he's hustling and doing whatever it takes to make it. And he's, well educated. He knows what he's talking about and he's really validating ideas really quickly. And it was really cool to chat with him. I remember I asked him like, well, if you're still in school, how does your work schedule look like? And he said his mom only allows him to work on the weekends. So obviously we never ended up working together just because I don't think it's legal for a 14-year-old to work. But it was still cool to see, and it was cool to see like how the younger generation is really working hard. And because of tools like AI, they get to actually avoid that steep learning curve of getting into the entrepreneurial world, and they can kind of just dive in and be themselves and kind of just hone in on who they really are when it comes to their core skill sets. And AI kind of just covers the rest and really helps them speed up that process of learning. But then there's also some other cases of a guy who was helping out with some mentorship and really just kind of showing him how to sell and just how he can start growing his first business. And I remember we were going through a Notion doc he built, and he was looking at or he was showing me a CRM that he built, and I said, wow, that's really cool, that's really impressive. How'd you build this? Where'd you learn how to manage a CRM? And I remember him saying, no, I just made it with a prompt on Notion. And I asked him, so do you know what this means? Do you know the how to use the CRM? And he just said no, he still needs to learn this. And I think that's kind of a shame, because I feel like you're kind of missing what makes the entrepreneurial spirit so amazing. You're supposed to work hard, you're supposed to be in that cycle of struggling, not understanding, and then have that epiphany moment where it all clicks and it makes sense. You need those challenges to grow as a person and as an entrepreneur. And I would just say I think it is really important for younger people to also remember the fundamentals and not just look for shortcuts, because I don't think when you're on a sales call it's going to help you in any way if you don't actually know what you are selling, and you're kind of just going based off of what ChatGPT or whatever you use told you and built for you. So I would definitely just say, like, put in the hours to learn the tools that you're using, what you're selling, why people find what you're selling is valuable, and how you can help people and provide like actual value.
I love that I'm not the only one saying that. Do the work, right? Put in the foundational work. I also tell junior copywriters that as much as I want to teach you AI, I can. But if you don't understand what makes good copy good, even if you look at ChatGPT's copy, you can't tell me, Audrey, I think this is good or not. So if you accept what AI tells you as is, and you don't question or challenge it or have a frame of reference, that's when the copy starts becoming really flat, and you can't distinguish whether something is meh, good, or actually great. So I would also recommend juniors or new creatives to build the right foundations. Then if you are able to learn the old school methods of writing or designing, but then also pick up the new school methods of AI, you'll be so powerful in such a short amount of time.
But Audrey, I'd love to ask you, do you think it's more difficult now for younger people because they have kind of this struggle of AI has like all the answers they need, but there's also this part where they need to put in the hours? Do you think that's challenging for them, or do you think other people that you've at least talked to don't struggle with that, and they're kind of using both and learning the fundamentals while using AI to enhance their learnings and get more opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that I've also thought about. I think from what I've noticed is that AI, even in my own workflows, it actually dampens my ability to craft, because it's giving you so many options in a short amount of time. So the ability to craft is actually a lot less compared to before in the past, where you have to be the one writing 100 headlines, right? Versus now,
yes.
copy editing. So I can feel that there is a shift going on in my brain. But what I've learned is, while this part is minimizing a little, I personally have found that the other part of my brain is being maximized. The strategy part, the creative part, thinking about big picture, audience journey. The thinking part actually grew. So for a new writer, I'm sure that they will also face this challenge where, because it's so accessible, right? Content is so accessible, they might find it harder to figure out how to pick up the foundational skill sets unless they are disciplined enough to say, I'm not going to use AI, I am going to write that 100 headlines, or in your case, I'm going to put in the hours to just manually design it to figure out what works. So I think with any new challenge also comes opportunity, and for the new generation, it's also figuring out what skills do they really need to maximize where they are at with the tools that we have at this point in time. So are the skills necessary? Yes. But do they need to have hone it to that huge an extent? Maybe, maybe not, depending on where they're at. So this is something that I think is very interesting for creators or even entrepreneurs to think about. But Adriaan, for yourself, do you feel like the role of design has actually changed a lot since the advent of AI?
Yes, I think designers... I think a lot of designers and creatives are falling into the trap of complaining a lot about AI and kind of worrying about their future. But I think people are missing kind of the opportunities there are for like non-technical creatives to go into more technical fields and really dominate. I feel like with AI taking over a lot of the manual work, your expertise and understanding in your specific field or niche that you serve becomes really valuable. So the example for me, I'm not the most technical person. Obviously, over the years, I've honed in on my craft and I've learned a lot, and I'm definitely competent and more competent than most in my industry. But I think people are coming to me for design specifically, and that's the core skill I've always had. And with AI, that's enabled me to develop and build and use that specific core skill set as a real big advantage. When in the past that wasn't an option, it would have taken me years to learn development. And it would have taken me, many headaches, and I probably would have taken a while to get my first clients and actually get that validation of, oh, I'm in the right direction. But now, because of AI, my design skill set and expertise and understanding has really become the highlight, and people come to me specifically for that aspect. I think it's amazing, because I think a couple of years ago, I would tell people that I'm a graphic designer, and they would kind of like laugh at it and think it's silly. But now I'm at a position where I do really cool stuff, and I really love the work I do, and I get paid well. And the reason that I'm starting to succeed and do really well for myself is because design. And because I don't have to be as technical as I had to be 5 to 10 years ago.
Yes, I think the design eye is something that nobody can take away from you, right? So even if the tools develop, right, you being that creative flair and that ability to conceptualize something, I think that's something that's very unique to creatives and to people who like to ideate, because it's something that comes from within, and then you use external tools to get things done. So
Yes.
maybe for a new business owner who's trying to build out some design assets, and they are new and they're trying to figure it out, what are some basic tools that you would recommend them to get started with?
So for brand assets, there's either the more advanced tool like Figma. That's probably my favorite. For most clients that are a bit more familiar with the current tools, I would recommend something like Figma. There's a lot of great resources, there's great forums, there's a great community of people involved. So getting assets for free and turning that into your own is really fantastic. There just is a bit of a steeper learning curve initially, but from there on it's fantastic. I'd say for brand new people in the industry, Canva is really great when it comes to general brand assets. I would really not stay away from that. And what I would do from there on is also experiment with Gemini. I think Nano Banana is really fantastic. I've been using it a lot for client projects. Getting a good library of mock-up images that are blank, that you can just put your logo into Nano Banana, and you add all of the external mock-ups that you've collected. Is really a great workflow for quickly getting some cool brand assets out there, seeing how your logo would look on a shirt, how business cards could potentially be designed, and then maybe even handing that over to someone on your team that can just quickly build that out on Canva. Is really a great workflow. It's so much more simpler than it was in the past. I think Canva is really amazing in that sense, because it's so accessible, it's so cheap, and easy to use and launch. So yeah, I would say Canva is probably your best tool at the moment.
I like Nano Banana a lot because it generates hyper-realistic visuals that actually any brand can probably pass off as a real photo shoot. So even for my clients who have been running ads for a long time, right now they are exploring looking into Nano Banana to generate visuals of their team members wearing uniforms, and the best part is the uniforms in the AI generated photos look almost exactly the same as the uniform that we uploaded as images. So that's really cool. It has never been possible before, and now it's getting so much easier to get the right photos. Plus, I think what I enjoy about Nano Banana is it actually understands cultural context. So in Singapore, we live in high-rise buildings, right? And when you look out of the window, you usually see another building because it's a very tiny country. So AI was able to generate a photo of someone's living room, and if you look outside their window, you actually see someone's building opposite you, which is very true to Singapore, which is really
That's very
crazy,
cool.
right? Because in most cases, you would imagine looking out at the sky, but here it's a little bit squeezier, so it's a bit different. So I
And
think
Audrey, I'd
if
love
you're
to.
a business
Oh,
owner
sorry.
trying to create stuff. Oh yes, please go. Oh, go for it.
No. Sorry. I'm not used to. Yeah.
Oh,
No, I
no,
just also
go
wanted
for
to ask, how does prompting look for you nowadays with tools? Do you think prompting is becoming also more simpler? For example, you said there's context that Gemini picks up on well. Do you feed that context in, or do you think Gemini can just pick up on your account details and different aspects of work that you've previously done to figure out the context needed? Yeah, I'd love to know a bit more from your perspective.
yes. Prompting has become so much easier compared to before, especially if you use one tool a lot. So if you are using ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is my day-to-day kind of tool, right? You will realize that it has a great memory base, and it's actually taking into consideration all the work that you've done. So Audrey's ChatGPT sounds uniquely like me, whereas if I were to use my client's ChatGPT, you get a completely different output because it's trained on my client's voice. In the same way, I think right now it's so much easier where if I want to create a hyper-realistic photo shoot for my client, I no longer need the very technical prompts that you used to need for a mid-journey. Right now, something that's a lot more conversational, even uploading photos to give it a frame of reference. These things help people like myself who have an idea but don't have the words to create content without being very specific in the prompts. So that's at least what I have noticed. I've noticed prompts getting so much easier compared to 3 years ago. What about yourself?
Yeah, it's really been awesome. I use especially for content writing a lot of ChatGPT, and there's some things that always ick me a bit, things like triplets and just some patterns that I personally don't like, or some type of words that it uses that just doesn't really fit my style. And I've set up an entire guide on what I like and what I don't like, and how I want ChatGPT to write copy for me, how I want it to sound. And it's really cool how it picks up on that context, and how you don't have to remind it the whole time, hey, please don't use triplets here, or don't do this, or don't do that. It's really crazy how much it's grown, and how things have changed. In the past you had to have this crazy long prompt and add multiple prompts together, and right now we're kind of at a place where it really understands who you're writing for and adjusts its prompt output according to that in a very appropriate manner.
Yes. One additional thing I would like to add on top of what you've shared is you need to master the skill set of being able to break down your own workflows. So I think this is particularly true for creatives, right? Sometimes we come up with a sentence and we know it's good, but actually before you come up with that sentence or design, you might have had 7 different steps internally that you went through, like who am I doing this for? What does it need to sound like? What is the look and feel? So you actually have many mini processes, right? So for myself, I like to take a step back and figure out how did I get to this end output usually? And then how do I get AI to go through my series of micro steps to get to the end output? That is something that I particularly have found very useful when it comes to creating content that sounds a lot more like myself.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So Adriaan, maybe to wrap things up, could you perhaps share one key tip that you have for our audience who's listening right now? One power tip that you have that you use to create great quality designs and websites with AI?
Yeah, so I think it's all about content. I think content is the most important part. It's the fundamental, pillar of your website. So when it comes to design obviously just highlights the content and helps the eyes scroll comfortably through the content, and really shows you what the hierarchy of content is. So what I would say is the best tip that I give founders and just clients that I work with is let's cut the fat out. Let's really structure out your value proposition in a way that makes sense. And I usually give kind of like a quick step guide on how we should think about positioning, and it's kind of like persona, who's using it, what type of, persona, and thinking about what alternatives they are using and kind of what pain points they're running into, and then dividing that, or looking at the main capability that solves those problems, what features support that main capability, and then from there on, what benefits derive from that. And once you have those pillars clear, which you can validate so easy with AI, you can start writing out your content in a way that makes sense. Because I think a lot of times people struggle with writing out their own content. They want to throw out each idea they have, and they really believe obviously in their service or their product, so they just want to tell you everything about their service or product. And I've just been using AI to simplify that whole process and really think about the structure. You can use AI in an amazing way to firstly create that document of how does our positioning look, how do we really structure everything in a neat way, and then from there on, I honestly just like to use voice notes. And with each section, let's say for example a hero section, I like to use certain types of structures. So for like the short description, I personally like to, if it's a SaaS product, have the product category included, the persona, and the company type. Things like risk reversals, I like to clearly outline. We want, for example, a social proof indicator. We want something in the lines of ease of use, or some type of financial benefit, or some type of indicator that's very quickly to onboard. So I describe this over voice notes, and I with the value equation in mind, or this clear value proposition laid out, and then from there on letting ChatGPT do the rest.
I love that. And for me as a copywriter, I second that. Get your content right first and everything else will follow. I would like to say, if design is king, copy is queen, you got to have them both.
Yeah.
And that's how you create a website that converts. And with that, thank you for being here on the show, Adriaan. So who should reach out to you, and where can they find you?
Thank you so much. It's been really cool chatting with you. Thank you for the amazing questions, and it was really nice talking. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Adriaan Myburgh, Adriaan Myburgh. I post a lot about SaaS and web development and web design in the SaaS industry, as well as a bit of positioning every now and then, really just to help smaller companies compete with bigger companies in their field. I find with AI, we are at such a cool point where smaller teams can really go against massive companies and compete with them without having massive budgets or massive funding, and they can validate ideas very quickly. And I really try and help those companies understand what, that front, what's a good word for that? What that first interaction with their company, which is obviously the website, could look like when you apply really nice designs to your website, really good content, and really good structures to your website, and how that can really enable them to get their first couple of clients and really grow from there. And hopefully when they're at the point where they have funding and they're at a good point to scale, they can always contact me and we can do something special together. So that's what I'm all about. You can find me on LinkedIn. We're doing a very cool brand video. A good friend of mine, he's a film producer. He's coming over here tomorrow to shoot a bit, and that'll be hopefully coming out within the next month or two. So that'll kind of show the culture that we're in as I'm scaling. Everyone that works with me or for me, they all work in my living room, and we kind of just have a very cool work culture. We all train together. It's really fun, and I'd love for people to check that video out when that launches. When I publish that, just to kind of see what I'm all about, because it's really cool that we're at a place where we can kind of just share our personal brand and what we're all about, and people contact us not because of things like how long we've been in the industry or how the type of people we work with, but rather just like who we are as a person and what we do and what we're all about and our values. So that's really cool.
Yes, and I definitely second that. I am a very happy, satisfied client of Adriaan's, a good friend, and I know he does amazing design work. So please do check his profile out. Check out what his his team is doing, and of course follow his upcoming video. So thank you guys for tuning in, and don't forget to hit the bell for more actionable AI and marketing insights. We'll see you next week. Take care.